we're wanting to like make this change. There's a solid group that we're trying and we want to, but it's the how. Like we don't know how to implement that in a classroom. Like we watch the videos of you, and we watch Kim, and literally we watch Kim teach on Twitter, and we're like, okay, I get that, but how
So
do
the
I do
scheduling,
that?
timing wise, like what do I do at 9 o'clock? What do I do at 9:30? What do I do at 10?
No, it's
No.
more like I'm working with that group, and what is the rest of the class doing, and how do I deal with, you need to sit down, don't throw that, stop running. No, you need to be doing your work over here.
Right.
Like, and you can't focus. And that group that's like, that group that needs that extra attention, like I could sit and do phonemic awareness and vocabulary building and reading and fluency and all those pieces with them for like 300 minutes a day, right?
Yeah.
But I have this much time, and I still need to like also deal with other kids as well. So that's where we're like, how
Is that?
well, the feeling is, I get the centers, like we're going to call them centers for now. I
Sure.
don't know another word to use. The stations that they're going to be at, and they understand all those pieces. They know how to do all those pieces, and we're just starting rotating. We're just into that, like, 9 weeks in, right? We're just getting into that. It's the whole, when you look at kids and like the diagnostic that we did, and then you put them in a group with like that diagnostic, it doesn't jive with then their ability to read.
So that feels discombobulated as well.
Right.
Just everything's feeling disconnected. And you are looking for a solid, here's where my students are, here are the skills they need, these are my groups, this is my plan for the morning. Everybody's happy after it's over.
Well, and I feel like it doesn't have flow and predictability and routine.
And you need that. So I'm just going to jump in because I'm trying to take in everything you're saying and try to give you a solid answer. So I was actually in a grade 2 classroom yesterday because we were short supply teachers. So I was pulled out of my SST role and I was told there are no supply plans, go. And so I was like, this is why I love structured literacy, because I don't know where the kids are. I have a pretty good idea because my office is next door to them. I have a pretty good idea. I taught these kiddos in grade 1, so I know where generally they are. So I brought in like a little tool of resources, and I had in the back of my mind, Brittany Bills, Dr. Brittany Bills. She is down in the States, and she talks about the importance of a strong core program and universal instruction. So I have a 100-minute block with no supply plans. And so I decided I'm going to focus on a complex vowel sound that I know most often kids in grade 2 don't have. They have been introduced to it, but it has not been consolidated. And my goal in the next 100 minutes is to consolidate this complex vowel sound. I think I was successful like 80% of the students. Sorry, that's my dog downstairs. And so I introduced the sound wa, O-I in French. And sorry, but the context is going to be in French, but I will make sure I link it to English. So we reviewed sounds that they know. And I had my flip book, and I had my consonants on one color, and I had my vowels on the other color. And we reviewed it. We changed the beginning sound, we changed the ending sound. I set my expectations from the get-go. I said right away, Madame's going to do it first. You're going to zip the lip. Madame's going to do it. I'm going to show you, and then you're going to repeat after me. And so we did that sort of like I do, we do, you do. And I sort of pulled out a couple of like solid ones that, wanted to use them as role models and literacy leaders and all that. So we did the review, and then I said, now Madame's going to show you a new sound. I'm going to say the sound. Can you think of a word? And so I did that whole group instruction. This is probably, I don't want to review everything you already know. So then we started listening for that sound in words like wazo and, other words with the sound wa in French. And so then wa. And so then we started blending the sound, like bois, dois, foi. And then all of a sudden, like the neural pathways were going like, madame, like foi, j'ai froid. And I was like, yeah, that's another one. So we started writing a list of these words with the sound wa, and like wazo. And so I kept a running record, or not a running record, so I shouldn't have even said that. But I kept a list of
a
words
running list.
a running list of words that they were calling out. And then we just start, and then so like we did that for about 20 minutes. And then what I did was I asked them to go to their desks, and at their desks, we did like SOS spelling. So we had seen the word, we had blended the syllables, we had created this running list of words with the sound wa. And then I showed them SOS spelling. Madame's going to say a word like wazo. Let's count the sounds. Wa, z, o. Three sounds. So we're going to write the lines to indicate each sound. So then we did that, and they showed their tableau, and I was like, yes, that's great, or not so much. So then, I mean, by this point, I've been working with them for like 35 minutes. I can see immediately the kids who have not grasped it yet. But now the kids have a list in front of them. So what I did was I partnered them up, and I said, you're going to work on reading these words with automaticity. So for 10 minutes, I pulled those kiddos aside that were, dans la lune, or that were, they didn't have their brains warmed up. It was only 9 o'clock in the morning. And I pulled them over to the carpet, and I worked with them on that sound. I worked with them on the flip book, and the blending, and the consolidation, and the practicing the decoding of the words with the sound wa. And at their desks, the other ones were just practicing reading in a partner. And I know the kids well enough that I made sure that I partnered, like for the majority, if you think of them as like strong, middle, and not so strong, I had the not so strong kids at the carpet with me to go over what I had just taught. So like more intensive, more frequent repetition. And then the other 15 kids were all at their desk in partners in one triple. And they were just practicing those words that they had just encoded. So this is not new, but then they were practicing just reading those words. And then, so once I got that small group working, we used those words and we built sentences. And so then again, we used those decodable words, we built sentences, I wrote them on the big board, and then I showed them like how we can improve our fluency and prosody when we're reading the sentences. So by now they've read the syllables, they've read the words, they've practiced reading the words with automaticity, and now we're getting to the sentence level. And so, it was not difficult to put in 60 minutes. And oh my gosh, the kids, they loved it. Mm-hmm. And I saw some of those kids who had, obviously been introduced to the word, introduced to the sound, but it hadn't stuck yet. Well, by the end of the 60 minutes, it had stuck, and they were feeling good about themselves, and they were reading words that previously they didn't think that they could read. So you've probably seen me put on Twitter too, once they have sort of been introduced to those words, and we're not at consolidation yet, I put those words, those decodable words like bois, dois, foi, on recipe cards, and we play a memory game so that they can flip the cards, read the word, and play a game in a small group just to get matching cards.
Okay.
So
everybody's doing the same thing. So everybody's doing the same thing. Now, the thing
it's like partner reading.
Yeah, which is so effective. Anything in part, right? When they're working together in partnership.
Oh, that's the other thing they have. They have buddy reading. I totally forgot about that. And they're reading stuff that they've read before, so it's fluent, and we practice it, and then they read to the class, and yeah, that's the other thing. Sorry.
What I'm hearing
that's key, and I think that's really key.
Kim, what do you think about the fact that the assessment is like, how do we get more flow with knowing what the assessment is? Like, to me, I would use a CB, like a CBM kind of assessment, like something that's got teeth behind it. So something that we know is going to be effective, like a Dibbles, which is free online, right? And do you do Dibbles? Because that's going to tell you.
So I did do a dibbles. I
Okay.
did a dibbles on every single kid, and
Okay.
every single one of them is well below the fluency level.
Right.
And their decoding skills were also quite well below.
Right.
But then I also did the one that I have to do because I have to input that data into the thing.
Yeah.
And so
that's a lot of assessing. That's
It-
a lot of time assessing, and that takes away from instructional time.
Okay, so this is why I'm feeling very like behind the 8 ball, because the piece that I have to put into like the data piece that I have to enter, I felt like didn't give me the piece that I could utilize to then give the instruction necessary for the student, for students in general.
So
It
this
took
is
a
what
lot of time, but it didn't give you the information you needed.
Yeah.
So what
to then begin programming.
What
right?
I'm hearing is you need an assessment, and you did the dibbles, and you found that every student was other than two was below reading. So what does that tell us? That tells us
below.
Like universal core instruction.
You need the whole group to be doing the same thing, making sure they go pattern by pattern in a systematic way through it all. Just get everybody on the same page, and then you need to take maybe your small groups are actually the two who need enrichment.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
But probably not, because there are probably going to be maybe 4 students who are really, really below.
Right.
And but I would start right at the like in terms of what I hear you asking is, well, how do I manage all this data I've been collecting that my school board needs me to collect, and how do I make a program for these students and these you don't. You make one, just like Kim described, you make one core program, and that's it. Because by the end of grade 2/3, I know you've got students in grade 3. So there's that too, right? There's quite a difference. But if they're all reading below fluency, that tells us that you need a core whole group instruction most of your time. And then in your small groups, you're going to take those 4 students who are really struggling with phonemic awareness and blending, and you get them going. And then you get your 2 who need enrichment, make sure they get pulled out, because we don't want to leave those behind either. They deserve, they need to, but I bet you they're not as, I don't know, but I suspect that their spelling and writing might not be as up to par as their reading.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So then that, you don't really have to worry about that either, because you're going to be taking those students. Okay.
Okay.
So you're doing the right thing by doing the dibbles, because that's reliable. That's a reliable assessment that you can do. So you're going to be doing the dibbles, and you they're all below. Okay. You've charted it all. All right, let's go. We're going to start here, and we're going to move through, and we're just going to go one step at a time. And you're going to be very, very careful about, you only have so much time with your small groups. So you got to make sure that you do the core things Kim just said, and I'll put them up here too. Like, these are, don't worry about this. Like, I'm not saying these are just for dyslexia kids. This is what students with dyslexia have taught us. That works, right? So if you take that out, these are the basic things that you need to be doing every day with every student in a whole group. Now, does that make sense to you, Kim?
Yeah. And I was going to say, this aligns beautifully with a podcast that I just listened to. It's Dr. Brittany Bills, and she did a podcast with Amplify. And the podcast is about MTSS, multi-tiered systems of support. And she talks about beefing up that core universal tier 1. So what you're saying is, if most of your kids are below where they need to be, she said, we need fewer, less individualized instruction and more cookie cutters. And I liked that, because we're always told, oh, you have to differentiate. You need to differentiate. Why are you differentiating when all the kids need the same thing?
Well,
make it a cookie cutter. Like,
I think that's the other piece, right?
Like, beef up that core program, and you're going to have a few outliers, and work on them. But you do not need to have 5 groups when so many of your kids need the same thing. I think we have been told repeatedly that we need to differentiate, and so as teachers, we're like, we need to differentiate. But if 85% of your kids are below where they need to be with reading, forget differentiation. Give them all that core universal instruction and beef up that tier 1 instruction, and then bring maybe those 3 kiddos aside that need that more frequent repetition and that more intensive. And sometimes it's just a focus issue, right? In a large group, it's easier to lose them. So I would highly recommend Amplify. I believe it's season 5, episode 6, with Dr. Brittany Bills.
Episode 6. Okay. Yeah, I think that's the other thing, like 20 years of differentiate. It makes you feel you have to do that.
It's way more stressful as a teacher. It's way more stressful and way more work. This is so much more. You get to be a teacher where you get to actually focus on the teaching instead of the managing all the groups.
Okay. And what are the other kids doing? What are the other kids doing while I'm working with these 3 kids? That is the question I get. That's the number one question I get is, Kim, when you're working with those 3 kids, what are the other 17 doing?
It better be darn engaging, because they need to be focused and engaged. And don't you think games, Kim, is like they got to be playing a game?
Those 3 kids that you're working with one-on-one, 3-on-1, you need to make that time as valuable as possible, because those other 17 kids, they deserve a valuable education too. So if we're just giving them busy work, then maybe that's not the best use of our time. Bring in all the kids, give them a really strong, beefed up, universal core program. And then, you can pull those other kiddos aside while the others are working on automaticity and fluency and those more independent skills that they are able to do. You don't want them floundering. You don't want them practicing bad habits. That's one thing we need to make sure we're not doing, is saying, here, go read a book you've never seen. Good luck with that. I'll be back with you in 30 minutes. And I know you're not doing that. I know you're not doing that.
So they all have a do-a-tang from that UFly, and the website, and we've started right back at the beginning at lesson 1, and we've come all the way through, and we're now like lesson 35, and that is their buddy read do-a-tang, and that's what they can choose anything in there. And I know that, and they're like, but it's so easy, and I'm like, perfect, keep reading it, use your voice with it. Like the book Know Better, Do Better, and they talk about like voice and having the kids just practice with a different voice and echoing and choral reading and all those things, right? So those are the things I tell the kids to do. Like, okay, your buddy reading and it's easy, well, now one person read one line and one person read one line, and back and forth and those sorts of things. So
I just found a really great 2 videos I'm going to show you. So on Let's Get Reading Right, if you go to, this is just, I loved this video. If you go to resources and then go down to where it says here. Okay, so go to where the red bar says looking for general classroom reading programs. So you'll see there's a curriculum evaluation tool, core knowledge, UFly is here. There it is, all the links. This is what you want to be looking at. This is most of your grade 2 to 8 class behind? Do you need an intervention for your whole class? Watch these 2 videos. Now, this is the research and the science with Matt Burns. It's 2 hours. It's long. It's very detailed. But come on over here to this video, because this is Lindsay Kemeny. You know her.
I started listening to
We all know her. She's fabulous. Well, she explains exactly how to do the so it's, you just play it right there. She explains exactly how to do this partner reading. In 2 weeks, her data is outstanding. She was able to get all the kids moving forward very quickly. And it was really just partner reading, but there's a very specific way to do that. And Lindsay has created all of these little fabulous little like 8.5 by little cards, cue cards that the students use to help each other with their reading.
Okay.
So it's amazing, like what she's got. she's got these things that if you just go to YouTube and click on there, I think that she's linked it to this video. If not, you can just ask Lindsay and I'm sure she'll share it with you.
Okay.
But they're amazing little cue cards. There's one for when the partners are reading to each other, and then there's another cue card for the process of what you're supposed to do. And it's so routine based. It's so structured that the kids know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. It takes a lot of effort to do what they're doing. It works. It's all backed by a lot of science. And I'm thinking that would be perfect for what you're looking for.
Okay. Yeah.
Then you can pull those small groups, 2 or 3 students.
Doing 2 groups, and then the rest of the class does one practice thing. That's a-okay. That's
doing 2 groups, like
if I do one group, if I do a small group and the rest of the class is practicing like a skill set of partner reading.
Yes.
We're saying now that like thumbs up, we're good.
Yes.
Like I'm having heart palpitations.
Because
no more 3 groups
easier. It's so much easier on you. It's so much more effective for the students. I know, it's like a weight off your shoulder to just have permission.
3 groups of 15 minutes for 45 minutes. That is a lot of work.
Too much.
Well, and then also
it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time of students on their own.
Well, and also to stick in then like a mini lesson at the start as well, right? And then to wrap that up and put in like a writing lesson at the end. Like it was just, yeah. Okay, Kim, your facial there. Yeah, that's exactly why I was feeling like how do I like?
You don't.
I don't know.
I have a terrible poker face. I'd be terrible at poker. I'm
I know, me too.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
That could be why I was so exhausted every day, because I'm just like I felt like I wasn't.
You're gonna burn out.
Well, yeah, I was feeling like I wasn't doing what I should do to like what every kid needed, right? So.
And you don't have to do it. That you can also pull those same 2 or 3 students, or even 2 students, during other times throughout the day where it's not like you've got little pockets of time,
right?
Where you just notice that you can do this, and it could take 1 minute to practice a card flipping, so they practice blending.
Okay.
And that's it. You get those kids, because really, Kim, when you say like the main skill, you need them to be able to connect those sounds and letters. So you're tracing, and you got to do that piece. That takes 1 minute. Or you can just take the cards. Done. Now we're all going out for recess. Right? Just those little moments. And then you don't have to do all those 15-minute small groups and listen to everybody read. No, they're going to be reading with each other. And then you're going to listen to them as you walk around. You don't even have to do a small group. You could walk around while they're doing the partner reading, because they're reading.
Okay, so Martha, you would always say, oh yeah, and you walk around and you watch the kids play, and I'm like, how do you do that when you got a small group that you're trying to like?
I say walk around and watch the kids play.
No, like no, you're watching them, you're observing them playing the games and like making sure that they're on task and that they're blending and that they're getting the skill sets that they're supposed to be getting. You're walking around, and I'm like, is she some sort of like magic fairy? Because like I don't know how I'm supposed to get up and walk around and have a small group and teach a lesson. And
it's too much. You know what the thing here is? We need to let things go. So that's, Kim, what I thought you and I could do is, what are the 5 things you would let go?
3 groups a morning of 15 minutes each. Let that go. Yeah. No,
yay. Look, she's so happy. And then she's, and then we're going to be able to really, really, and trust the Dibbles data.
Okay.
Right. You don't have to, you have to trust that is going to move along if you're doing your whole core pro. Okay, but what else are we letting go?
Well, can I just jump in there? Maybe who said you have to work with them for 15 minutes?
It was just
magic number 15 come from?
Well, it was a way to like fit in that many groups.
But what I'm saying is, why don't you do 3 groups in 5 minutes each? You can do so much in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like for example, this is what I do. I mean, I'm in the tier 1 kindergarten first block. I'm in tier 2 small groups SST second block, and then I'm an Empower Coach third block with that super intensive program. And that's in English though. And it is incredible how much you can do in 5 minutes when you've got those routines in place. And one thing that structured literacy has taught me is how much time we as teachers spend establishing different routines every day. Like when my kids walk in when my small groups walk in the door, they put their hands down like this, because they know for 1 minute, maybe sometimes 30 seconds, we just do rhyming drills. So like do these words rhyme: cat, mat, bat, sat, chair, hair, cheer, Cheerios. 30 seconds, and I can see right away, like maybe 20 seconds. So we start with that, and then we do like the blending drill for 30 seconds. I'm going to say mot mystère, the mystery word. This is the mot mystère for today. What's the mot mystère? And then boom, and then we go into our phonics. So I'm just like, getting those like really quick and what's the word I'm looking for? Like quick and dynamic routines in place allows you to get more content in.
Okay.
So rather than, okay, everybody sit down, get your hands out. Today we're going to do this. Like I've got the routines so in place that they come in and they put their hands down like this. Like I don't even have to tell them what to do because those routines are established.
Right.
The International Literacy Association put out a little paper called the Challenges of Phonics Instruction or something like that. It was 2019. And one of the things that they said was the thing that takes up the most time is the transitions. So you've got to take all your transitioning time and then turn that into teaching time. So the routines have to be so tight and core that you're not wasting a second. Like they could be doing something from moving from the large group on the carpet to their seats. Maybe they all, I don't know.
They have to hop the syllables and
hop the syllables to their desks. So that there's no lag time. There's no, okay, everybody settle down. Okay, now we're going to, no, it's so routine. You don't even have to talk. I mean, a good lesson, you barely need to say anything. The students lead it. They're like, oh, Madame, you forgot this. You're right, I did. They love the routine and they like to tell you when you've missed a step.
And that predictability. They love that predictability.
That's so safe.
Well, there's nothing.
And you don't in this. Remember the video I showed you about Lindsay Kemeny demonstrating the Matt Burns the partner reading? They go into that quite a bit, like which books do we use? So you are going to use decodables for some students, and you match up the students. So you put all the students in an order, right, according to your data,
right? Your
DIBELS data. So you put them in order from strongest to weakest readers, and you match up, and then you cut that class list in half, and you match the sort of middle of the road with the weakest, and then the next one up with the second weakest, and the next. So the strongest reader is with sort of almost middle of the road. Do you see? And so they're matched up that way, and then they're matched with a text. So the text isn't going to be too much of a difference that way.
Okay.
And then you're matched up with a text, and maybe half the students have decodables still, but the rest might have other text. It doesn't have to be a decodable.
Right. Okay. That's good to know. Okay. Right. I feel like there's been a huge weight that's been lifted from me.
We need permission. We need to let go of things. And that's, I can't remember which thing I was listening to, which webinar or podcast I was listening to. Is it's all about what we have to make sure we give teachers permission to let go of things. Right. So letting go of running records, letting go of leveled readers, letting go of all these small groups for 15 minutes each. That's the biggest. Right. That's the biggest. And letting go of the word wall and letting go of the, phonics over here. Read something different that has nothing to do with that over here, like let go. And letting go of it, differentiating to the point of, you have to use your data, but we heard you say that you did the DIBELS data and it said nobody was on target.
Right.
So that's an easy fix, really.
Core universal instruction.
Okay.
Cookie cutters.
What do you mean by that? Cookie cutters.
Well,
like a whole group instruction.
So Brittany Bill says, we're always told to differentiate and individualize. And we don't want a cookie cutter approach. And she said, a cookie cutter approach isn't a bad thing if they all need it, right? We have this idea that a cookie cutter approach is meaning one size fits all. Like But if they're all low, then they could all benefit from that tier 1 universal instruction, rather than doing the same thing 5 times in 4 groups of 15 minutes.
Right.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense, right?
Teach it to the whole class. But
So
again,
now,
we're like small groups.
Those 2 students, I'm still thinking about them. The 2 students who are well above, and you're always going to have them. With them, I don't know what you would do, Kim, but I would do writing. So you would do a little bit, if they're indeed ahead even in their spelling and writing, which they are not necessarily going to be. So I know a lot of students who can read, but their spelling and writing, they can't do a sentence level yet. They're still learning about sentences. So you do that, they're going to be included. But let's say you've got students who are writing and spelling well. Well, now you're going to do, there's another video that I just love. And it's Joan Sedita with the writing rope. Where's my writing?
Oh, I love her.
Okay, so here's the writing. There's me with my book. I was so excited. My daughter took a picture. I was like, I got my book. We all do that when we get our new books. But Joan Sedita, this video here is excellent. It's how long is it? It's an hour. It's long.
Okay.
But it is just so worth it to hear about the writing rope and all the pieces of writing. And so I would get them to write about the content that you're teaching in science or social studies.
Okay.
So
and can I jump in for a second? So Joan Sedita, I heard her speak at the end of August, and she has videos on the Keys to Literacy website. So if you go to Keys to
that's what
Literacy,
that one is. Oh, no, maybe it wasn't.
No, you have the patent one on there.
Oh, right. Because I just listened to the Keys to Literacy one, and she goes over this book.
They're shorter.
One video at a time.
I would try that. I mean, the patent one is excellent. I listened to her during the patent symposium, but I would say go to the Keys to Literacy website, and she has all these great videos that have been uploaded, and they're a little bit shorter, but again, longer doesn't mean better. Right? It's like we don't have to do half an hour groups. We don't have to do 15-minute groups. It's quality, not quantity. And I have found that on the Keys to Literacy website, there are great videos that don't take a whole lot of time, but are packed full of information.
And if you have this book, which didn't take that long, it's copyright 2023. It's so new. And
nice.
She says,
it is sold out
one video for that, and she'll refer to the pages in the booklet. And this, look at what you have in there. You've got all kinds of actual templates for you to use. Right. And so in her little video, she'll do that one. And then the next video, it'll be this part and this part. So it'll give you a lot to do with those kids who you need a little more, you know, you can do that with all your whole, that's part of a core reading program.
Yeah.
Or writing program, right?
And something else that's fun, because my own daughters are those 2 kids who learn to read through osmosis, are beautiful writers. It's not because of me, because I'm better at teaching my students than I am my own 2 children, but they have really benefited from lessons in morphology and etymology. And once you get the girls talking about the origins of words, like the Greek origin of certain words, they can start doing some deep dives into that independently. Like you've got kids in grade 2 and grade 3. Kids in grade 3 for sure can start doing some deep dives into the origins of words. And that's really a fun task for those kids who need a little bit of a challenge.
Okay.
It benefits all kids. Don't get me wrong. Etymology and knowing the origins of words benefits all kids. But for those kids who can't decode the words yet, let's focus on getting them decoding. And for those kids who are like Mia and Sophie Lockhart, they enjoy that etymology and they start making those connections. Mom, do you know why the word knife has a K in it? And why the word 2 has a W? Think about it, Mom. Twin, twice, 20, all those mean doubles. And we say the W, but in the pronunciation of the word 2, we've dropped the W. Like they're teaching me stuff.
Okay.
And they teach the other students, and they're engaged. They're completely engaged. Like they're not coming up to you and bugging you. They're unless they're excited about what they've learned, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Wonderful.
Okay.
I'm gonna pause now.
Okay.